Welcome to One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, where we get curious about what makes us tick. We're here today with a woman who has overcome what many of us dare not even think about. Welcome, Laura Cristea.
Hi, Ian. Thank you very much for having me and for your kind words.
Well, it's we've had a few conversations virtually, and obviously we were chatting before today. So let's just ease ourselves into it and just tell everyone how you spend your time. What do you do now?
Well, as I stated before, I like to joke. I say I'm spending my time playing with my cat. But yes, I'm trying to do my best to help other people going through difficult times, including my family. Everyone has difficult times, and I've turned that into a small business. Still in its infancy, but yeah.
And tell us the name of the business, Laura.
My business is called howtocope.co.uk with the number 2 instead of the word 2.
Okay.
It was taken.
So, how did you get there? What were the key moments that led up to you doing what you do now?
Well, my health issues and my life journey helped me get an insight into the darkness of living with a disability and having health issues and some social aspects that come with that load. I've encountered so many people who told me, oh, you should do more, you should write a book, you should help people, you're so fascinating, you inspire people. I didn't think so, but since so many people told me that, I said, if I can help at least one person, then I would have a happy life because so many people helped me. It would be my way of giving back. And working in schools and various institutions, I was disappointed by the system that is overwhelmed. People are overwhelmed, and there are many gaps in understanding and in the service provided to people with disabilities and without, because don't necessarily need to have a disability to go through a difficult time. So I said, I can actually do something, especially nowadays with all the media, internet, and all the devices we have at hand. So I started that. Hopefully, I will be able to help the people as I want to. Also, doing charitable work, it's quite difficult when you're working for an institution because they're very fixed on asking for a fee, and families who struggle with difficulties often don't have the money. They have the will, but they're depleted.
So take me back. What are the key moments that brought you? Go back as far as you feel you need to. That kind of tells the story to how you got to where you are now.
Well, my story, it's complicated. You could say it started from when I was born, as I was raised by my grandparents. Everyone played a role in what was due to come. My parents left dreaming of America, chasing the good old-fashioned American dream. And then I have been diagnosed at 14 with a optic nerve glioma, a tumor. They attempted to extract it. Unfortunately, they just managed to make it angrier. It seems that the tumor was as feisty as I am, and it came back with a vengeance. And also, they severed my optic nerve. I lost 70% of my vision, and got a little bit of new look. Since then, obviously, I've been through numerous surgeries, got grim prospects from doctors. You will be dead by 21 if we don't take out your half of your brain and both of your eyes, which was like, what's the point of living?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's that. Just as we go past that, so I have to ask: at 14 years old, to receive that kind of news, tell us a bit about the impact on that. What I can't imagine, but what type of thing goes through your mind?
It's quite strange because I've always been a little bit of an oddball, a tomboy. My grandmother had a headache raising me, because I would always climbing trees, and I remember her telling me, "Oh my God, I can't dress you, put a dress on you. You're purple. It's like we're beating you day and night." But it's I during my childhood, like, as I said, everything, we were very poor, so everything I went through, parents being away and being very poor, but all the challenges, their health issues because they were old, just build a certain kind of resilience in me, and I'm, as a coping mechanism, I've developed a stubbornness in focusing on the positive aspect of anything, and that became extremely useful, combined with my stubbornness, natural stubbornness, as a bull, like my grandma would say. So it just became very useful. I remember when I came back with the diagnosis, I entered the kitchen, and both my grandparents were waiting. Their souls were like this, and I was all smiles and very happy. I told him, I have a brain tumor and I will need to have a surgery, a brain surgery. Like, oh my God, you just come into the kitchen like you just won the lottery. Why? Do you even understand what that is? They said, yeah, that's why I'm happy. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. For me, going through something that I was already fascinated by was a bliss, because I got aphasia, I got certain symptoms, and knowing what it means and getting through all those, feeling all those things myself, was absolutely fascinating. And I took notes of everything that I was going through. I even have them nowadays. And I at that time, I was still hoping I would get to keep my vision. I knew that is a slim chance, but hope is kind of a theme with me. So I would still, I was still, everything I was doing through school was towards applying to medical school. So even then, when I was in hospital, I had all my books and everything, preparing for exams, chemistry and physics, which I took going from the 8th grade to the 9th, going through high school, just to get into a science-oriented classroom in high school. So yeah, it's quite strange. I didn't receive it badly, so to speak.
Well, and I would imagine that was potentially quite difficult for people around you to process, if they were seeing that maybe you were behaving in a way that they weren't expecting you to.
Yes, definitely. I started to see the darkness of societal interactions. Even then, people started to treat me like I would have a cognitive disability as well, just because they couldn't cope with the idea that somebody who receives and understands what the diagnostic means has that kind of an approach. I was very optimistic, and even when they shaved my head, I was like, "Oh, this is nice. This will be easy to wash," and it was, honestly. 3 times I've been shaved, and it was a blessing for me. Other women were crying. I was like, "Actually, I'm thinking of investing in wigs and just 5 minutes to wash and dry." But going back to that, it's people can't cope with that, especially when you're a kid. They prefer to think that you're not all there, instead of understanding that for them, their struggle, it's they don't have the depth of understanding of where you're coming from. It's easier to blame others, as a general rule. I still do it sometimes.
Just going back to that time again as well. So you obviously had something leading up to the diagnosis. You receive the diagnosis, and you become fascinated and interested in it. Do you think any part of that was a coping mechanism at the time? Was there a reaction that you were wrestling with, or were you just generally, this is interesting?
I wouldn't say I always accepted it, which was very strange even for me. And years later, I tried to understand why that was my response. As I said, my childhood played an important role. The fact that my parents left to America and left me with my grandparents, I've always felt I have no control. I had the best childhood ever. My grandmother was a saint, and God rest her soul. She was the best mother anyone could have. And my grandfather, God rest his soul, also tried his best. Whatever sliver of patience he has left, he used it with me. But everything just played its role in me developing what I needed later. Even faith. My grandparents weren't great believers. We were all born Christian, but we weren't just visiting the church every Sunday or things like that. When people are gathering to for Christmas or Easter. But my grandfather was a Darwinist, and my grandmother was way too tired to think about religion. So, yeah. I always felt, in a way, a connection, and this might come as an oddity to certain people with a higher power. I was talking with, we had a picture of Jesus, and that I was talking every time I was upset. And I was talking with him like it would be my imaginary friend or my brother or something like that. And somehow, I don't know, acceptance developed. Like, life is a gift, and I am choosing. Happiness is a choice. I've realized that since early age. No, I want to be happy. I'm stubborn, and life won't kick me. I will kick it. As I said, stubbornness, it's a great thing. And it's I just chose to be happy. My aunt kept on laughing. She said, "Oh my God, you could drown in let's just say garbage. You'd still be, at least I can see the sky."
Well, so let's wind the clock forward then. So let's move away from the diagnosis and that time. Bring us a little bit closer. What happened next?
Well, surgeries. I had, unfortunately, I've been bedbound for almost a year. At the end of which I fell into a coma. I can't remember about 4 months of my life. I've had multiple brain surgeries. The last one implied putting some shunts because I entered the coma due to hydrocephalia, and the cerebral brain fluid was compressing on everything what's there. And even though I have a big pumpkin, it has its limitations. So and even after, let's just say, going back to my first surgery, I've realized the limitation of modern medicine, and I've tried to combine holistic medicine with conventional medicine, and I've never discarded either. Even nowadays, I'm combining them. That seemed to work for me, especially since I'm still alive. I would say, yeah, it definitely works for me. I with every surgery and radiotherapy and everything I've been through, it seems that the tumor developed more and more, and it became a brain cancer, stage 2. It's still good. There are 4 stages, so I'm still good. And it's, let's just say, it's slowly there. It's at times it gives me a literal headache, but we've reached, I would like to say, a treaty. If okay. I'm alive, it's alive. So it seems it's a smart.
You have an arrangement.
Yes, I like to say, well, it's good, it's smart. we managed to negotiate.
So, have there been some darker times on the journey?
Definitely. I've been bullied in high school. Even though I was very excited, I still had bandages when I went to exam from the 8th to 9th. Nobody believed in me, and everyone accepted me to take my exam out of pity, except one teacher, my math teacher. So it's no wonder that I love math. He gave me one of my exams the first day back after my surgery. And was he came after I gave the test with the grade. He put it on the table and he said, "You can do more." He was the only one who believed in my potential. And that was all I needed. Just a little bit of encouragement. Because I was fighting, but obviously I was on shaky grounds. And that was all I needed. Some of my colleagues were supportive, so I had colleagues who were trying their best to be there. They were kids, so they were trying their best. Others were very judgmental, trying to bully me. I was never one to run from a fight, even though I have the strength of a newborn chipmunk, like my husband likes to say. And going through high school, I passed my exam successfully. And in high school, let's just say teenagers experience the fullness of human behavior and experience, combined with changes in hormones and everything. At times it's a nightmare. So I've had other girls putting their boyfriends to threaten me that they will kick me. Girls trying to get into fights with me. They even launched rumors, bad rumors about my let's just say integrity. I needed to change 4 high schools in 3 years.
People can be so unkind, can't they?
Well, yes, they can, but also I have faith in humanity, and no matter how unkind some people are, because I like to say that they're not malicious. They have their own trauma. They try to put their foot in the ground. In high school, it's a jungle, let's be honest. So they were just trying to survive, just like I was. And in the end, I would thank them today, because they helped me raise my walls and my defenses. And when I encountered adults with similar behaviors, I was prepared.
Right.
So thank you, all the bullies.
Well, there's a lot we could learn from that.
Yeah, but it is, especially that brought me to depression and suicidal tendencies, piled with my health, constant headache. I was on morphine, and plenty of my colleagues didn't understand why I'm missing school. So certain confrontations came from that. I was always studying at home, so teachers knew what I know, and I'm there, and why I'm not there, but colleagues didn't understand. And many of times I was on morphine just to cope with my pain, and I was just walking like this, going to the toilet, but they didn't know that, they didn't see that, and that drove me on a very dark path of our humanity. And I had a few attempts of taking my life just to relieve my grandmother, who was suffering a lot due to me. I was a burden. I was a vegetable at some point.
And what age were you then? When was this going on?
My teenage years, I would say before 18 years old, between 16 and 18. So.
And what was your? What most of us, and I said it in the opening, would. It's very difficult to even get our minds around being in a position like that, within your own mind. How did you get through that?
Hope. It's that never died. Even when I was in that darkness, and I remember very well that I felt like in an unending pit of darkness, where you're trying to climb, but you keep on falling back and you just can't get out. I wanted to, but I couldn't. But there was a shimmer of hope that maybe there is something better for me. And yeah, it also always gets me emotional because it's so deep. But yeah, I guess my connection with that divine I've mentioned before was there with me. One of the stories I have, and skeptics will be skeptics. For me, it was a message from the universe. I was on a ledge. I literally took the decision to jump, and I was in the capital city. Uh, you rarely see in the capital city a white dove. I mean, they're everywhere pigeons, but a white dove you don't see in capital city. And the white dove just landed on my feet. And by the way, it was, the ones with red eyes are quite creepy. This one didn't have red eyes. It was, for me, it was a sign, and I started crying, and I got back
So
from the ledge.
that was a point where you were.
Yeah, something in me awakened. I didn't feel alone. It was the universe is responding all my prayers and all my efforts to get out from that darkness. I just need to bear a little more, a little longer, and that proved to be true.
Was that a turning point, do you think?
Yes, I think it was because I didn't jump. I don't know if I would have been successful. It wasn't quite a high jump, but I was determined, especially since my grandmother couldn't cope anymore with the demands of my health issues. So it was quite grim at that point.
It's interesting. You even at that moment, you thinking and noticing the colour of the eyes on the pigeon.
Yeah, especially with my eyesight.
Yeah. Wow. And at that point, were your parents still in America at this point?
Yes, they still are there. We're trying to rekindle the relationship, but obviously because they didn't raise me, I haven't been raised by them. It takes a lot of adjusting, of learning how to behave with each other. Um, uh, th- in all fairness, they inspired me a lot. I don't think they're even aware of that, but the courage of my father, who left after the communist regime fell in our country. He left with $100 in his pocket, knowing just a couple of words in English. But he had a dream. And years later, he didn't become Warren Buffett. He's not rich. He has a modest life. He has health issues. I've asked him, what do you think about the route you've taken? And he answered, I would do it or do it again just the same. Maybe just wishing to have a more better life, not just go to America. And it's just that I realize how important it is to follow your dream, because no matter what, if you die trying, chasing your dream, you'll die happy. The happiness in the journey, not the destination. And yeah, it's
Wow, what a story so far. I mean, it's. I mean, you've already said it, I think, here as well. But I mean, how would you say those experiences to this point had influenced your life for the better?
everything. I think everyone placed an important role, like a puzzle. My grandmother, my father's mother, was the giver. She gave everything she had for the ones she loved. Everything. Sacrificing herself, her own well-being. My grandfather taught me. I remember falling off the bike, and all the friends were like, oh my god, he's so mean. He said, get up, go back on the bike. And my knees were bleeding. He said, come on, pedal, continue pedal. Getting home, I had no crust on my knees. He was super smart because I have no scars now. I healed very fast. And also that was the lesson that taught me, when you fall, try to get up. Always try to, even if you crawl, try to get up. It was one of the most valuable lessons, childhood lessons. My mother's mother, my other influence, was a very strong, independent woman who came from poverty, like my other grandmother as well. And she built a business that is still feeding the family and the generation to come. So she was that strong iron lady, so to speak. My father was the dreamer, is the dreamer, and he taught me the value of a dream. My mother as well, her kindness and the cost of being too kind with people. She told me the value of that. My aunt, who raised me together with my grandparents, taught me the power of sacrifice and what it means. She part raised me, part has been my sister. So yeah, everyone I've encountered in my life, even the people who donated for me to go to treatments and stuff like that. My husband, who I've met when he was just a kid himself, taught me what depths of integrity humanity can have, a human being, and ethical value and the power of perseverance.
How does this all play out now with your current role, what you do now, and helping other people? How do you draw upon all of this rich and emotional story when you're working with your clients?
The motto of my business is, where there is a will, there will be a way. And happiness is a choice. You choose how you view your life. It's about mindset. It's about perspective. And you are in control of that. No matter what happens, because life, it's like an ocean. Just learn to surf, paddle. Just fight for what you believe in, for your dream. You have one life and you deserve it. You deserve to live it, to be happy, no matter what other people say. That's why I believe in second chances, third chances. We learn by failure. And failure is not something to be ashamed of. Just learn from it. And like I said, don't stay down. Just crawl, get up, dust yourself, and fight for your happiness. And that applies to either organization leaders who get swamped by their work and they get imposter syndrome and stress and insomnia, or people with disability who are trying to find their way, or people who just need training. They're saying, I don't know how to react. How do I respond to that? There's no shame in asking, in not knowing, in being ignorant out of lack of information. It's sad when I encounter people that are ignorant by choice.
The concept of, that happiness is a choice, which I do subscribe to. There will be those who say, "Oh, that's just blind optimism," or that's not real. How do you react to people who would even suggest that it's you're making light of things about just saying happiness is a choice?
That is their choice. I respect their view. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything, because it's a process. In order to get there, nobody has my past, my experience. In a way, you could say I clang onto this view because it was survival instinct. It was my only choice, and it's way harder. It takes a lot more courage to jump off a ledge than to actually live, because that is ingrained in us. We are built to fight for survival. So in a sense, I found something that worked for me. That might not apply to other people, and I'm not trying to convince people, but everyone wants to be happy. So find in yourself whatever brings you happiness. For me, is this pink cloud. For other people, I don't know. It's other things. So it's not something that applies to everyone. I'm not trying to convince anyone. If somebody tells me, "Oh, you're dreaming, lady," I'm saying, "Okay, I can respect that. That is your view, and like I would want my view to be respected. I respect others' view. I'm not trying to convert anyone to anything."
Yeah, it's quite a story, Laura, and it's, I think, to hear from you saying it's a choice. Yeah, I think it's worth listening to. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's your choice to believe that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what if you hadn't received that diagnosis? What do you think you'd be doing?
In all fairness, I think my life wouldn't be as happy as it is now. My cancer was my best friend, has become my best friend, like divine guide through life. It gave me courage to follow my heart, to follow my dream. It showed me how short life is and how not to get angry on small things, because minutes just fly by, and the next day you might not be able to get out of bed. So I think I would have a much sadder life and closed with my very close horizon, and I would have been much arrogant, much more, way more arrogant, because I was a very arrogant little kid.
Wow. Well, I must admit, I never thought that I would have a conversation along the lines as you've described, that you feel that you have had a better life as a result so far of the diagnosis. I mean, that's insightful.
That gave me the courage to live, and living with a ticking bomb, it's actually a blessing in a way. You're unburdened of at least I am, of the far future, because my plans have been well destroyed so many times that I've learned just to dream, but not plan too much. Just go with the flow and let it just follow the path that is laid in front of me. And that opened so many doors, made me more a happier person and more open to whatever comes my way. People, ideas, views, opportunities. It's just, okay, let's see where this goes.
So it's okay to have a dream, but as you say, without obsessing about it, and just use that almost to give you a broad direction, but deal with it as it presents itself.
I think it's necessary to have a dream. It's something that nurtures our soul, and it's good for the imagination as well. So if you like flying, imagine yourself flying, but don't jump off a building without a parachute. It's just having your feet on the ground, but let your mind fly. That's why we have the imagination, and dreaming is not bad.
And as you mentioned the word hope as well, yes. And I suppose dreaming gives you hope.
Exactly. It's for me at least, they're synonyms, because where my mind goes when I was in bed and I couldn't lift my head from the pillow, all I had was my imagination. I couldn't even speak. So all I had was in my head, and the hope that someday I will be able to wear that pretty blouse that I was keeping for good days, when you're going out. Now I realize, you know what, if I'm in the mood to wear a wedding dress on the street, I will wear it, because I might not get to that wedding.
That's amazing. It's just amazing, Laura. It really is. I could keep on talking and talking. It's there's a couple of questions which I'd like to finish with. So the first one is something which we carried all the way through the first series of these, which was if you could write yourself a letter. So we're going to assume we can conquer time travel. You can write yourself a letter to your younger self and leave it for you to find. What do you think you would write on that letter to your younger self?
You're good. Keep on going.
Love it. That's great. Keep on going.
You're good. Keep on going. Just to let myself know that I'm on the good path.
Love it. And then the last one, in this series, what we're going to do is to ask you to leave a question for us for the next guest. It won't necessarily be the next, but one of the next guests. But in order to give you time to think about that, we've actually got a question from a previous guest. So let's go with this. So this is from a previous guest on the show who asked, bear in mind they didn't know who this was going to be for, so is there any field that you feel you could never have gone into, and why?
Yes, I couldn't have been in army. I respect life. I wouldn't be able to kill, especially when ordered to. Because obviously, if you need to protect your family, we are all capable of that. But just to kill somebody for an ideal or defending the country, it's a larger subject, and it takes a lot out of you. I don't think I would have that strength. Veterans suffer a lot due to it, and they pay a great price for it.
Okay, thank you for that. So this is where you now get your opportunity. What would you like a future guest to answer?
Is it worth it? Are you happy?
Is it worth it? Are you happy?
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much for somewhat emotional roller coaster. Certainly, personally, listening to some of the stuff you've shared today. So thank you for that. Thanks for taking the time to come and have the conversation.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully I spoke eloquently enough.
Oh, Laura, it was great. You have been listening to One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers and our guest this time, Laura Cristea. If you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. And if you have been, thanks for listening.